In this video, I'm going to attempt to show how AGM-65 Mavericks can be used in a combat scenario together with a targeting pod. So I'm going to show you how to get targets using targeting pod, then hand those targets over to the Mavericks, and then fire the weapon and achieve a decent degree of accuracy. So without wasting any more time, the best thing to do before you take off is actually even before you taxi is to ensure that you power on your Mavericks and allow them to warm up, so that once you are airborne they will already be either warmed up or almost warming up. So I'm gonna set my radar altimeter to standby and contact ground and request them to give me permission to taxi.
Mustang 3, 2-shift, F-16s, request taxi.
Good morning, Mustang 3, you are number 1 for departure. Taxi, Alpha, and then hold short, runway 19er.
Roger, runway 19er. And meanwhile, I could also set up my targeting pod over here. I'm going to replace the FLCS page and set up my targeting pod. It's already warmed up. If you are starting the aircraft from cold and dark, I'd recommend ensuring that you have these two switches here. This one's here for labeled sensor power. This one's will power on your targeting pod. It's important to do that as early as possible in the startup process, so that once you are airborne, your targeting pod will not take too long to warm up. Gear is up. Ready. So at ground, my Mavericks are powered on. Switch to the weapon page and looks like they are ready. Now I'm going to try to show this in the most procedural way possible. So first thing, I'm going to switch SOI to the weapon page here and engage. Do that by pressing U on the keyboard. Engage.
2 in position.
I'm going to click on this to change the field of view to narrow mode. I think that's narrow mode. Then I am going to do missile step once, switch it to the other station. Now as you can see from the weapon page, I'm now switched to station 7. I'm going to do engage again to blow the dome covers on these weapons. Then I'm going to click that. That gets me in a narrow field of view. And then now I'm going to switch back my SOI to the other MFD. Right now I'm using the radar on this MFD, and I'm going to use the radar to pick up a target. Could be anything as long as it's stationary. So I'm going to select that target there. You can see it's a target there. I'm going to track it or lock it, depending on what term you like most. Come over the targeting pod, and oh, these clouds are going to make this exercise difficult. Okay, the clouds block, makes it difficult for us to see targets. Okay. Alright, I do see my target. At this point, it's good for you not to be going too fast. So first thing to do is identify a target. Like this building, I've decided I'm gonna use this building here. So I'm gonna track it with the targeting pod. So once I click TMS up, the targeting pod is gonna attempt to hand over the targets to the Mavericks, but it's going to fail because they are not both sided. So I'm going to quickly switch to SOI to the weapon page, and then the goddamn cloud is now blocking me. Okay, let's hang on a second. Let's try to descend below that cloud layer. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna slew the Maverick to that same target, which is that one. Lock it up, you'll see, and then click BSGT. There, that's now good. Now do missile step. Missile step button, key. Then find the same target, which was that building there, lock it up. Then click BSGT, and then now click SOI to the Maverick, to the targeting pod. And if you look down here, station 3, there's a C above it. There's also another C above station 7. Those two C's on each station indicate that we have a successful handoff of the target from the targeting pod to the Maverick weapon page. So this implies that we have successfully bow sighted our Mavericks to the targeting pod. So now, from now henceforth, whatever the targeting pod will be looking at will also be the same thing the Maverick seeker head will be looking at. So now, once this exercise is done, you need to power off your Mavericks, because as you know, you get about only 30 minutes if you keep your Mavericks powered on. Once 30 minutes are up, you won't be able to use those Mavericks. You'll have to power them down and let them cool for, I don't know exactly how long. So it's important that once you are done outside, power off your Mavericks, and then only power them on once you are ready to engage your targets. Alright, so once that is done, now it's time to navigate to our targets. And since we're going to be doing close air support, it means we are expecting to engage some ground moving targets. So it would be good practice for us to change our radar mode from ground to ground moving targets, or GMT in short. So switch your radar to ground moving target, and now let's navigate to where our targets are expected to be. Awesome. So now it's time to switch at ground mode. Our radar is in ground moving target mode, so it's going to be able to pick up moving targets. And I already got a contact somewhere here. Let's see, they are on the radar. So I'm going to lock that contact up and bring up the targeting board. Are those targets?
Altitude.
Yeah, here are our targets. Narrow mode, ground moving targets, bunch of tanks. So let's lock that guy up. Okay, it's tracking. Handoff in progress. Okay, so as you can see, we are still having the targeting pod is still trying to hand over the target to the Maverick. It is trying to hand over the target to a weapon that we have in station 3, as highlighted here in the weapon page. You see we have a bunch of tanks there. So handoff is still in progress. It's not completed. So we need to talk about a few things. We got this range probability of intercept, and we have that carrot there. So the Maverick should be launched once that carrot is within the dynamic launch zone, or the range probability of intercept. And then we have this thing here we call the keyhole, which is a region that surrounds these crossing hairs. You see this? This cross here that crosses the weapon page. There's a region surrounding this area that is called a keyhole. So the rule of thumb is that there's this pointing cross. I don't know whether I'm using the right terminologies, but there's this other cross down here, other than the cross that is filling up the weapon page. There's another smaller cross below the point where this bigger cross meets. So this other smaller cross. So the rule of thumb is that this smaller cross needs to be within that keyhole, or to say it in a simpler way, this smaller cross needs to be as close as possible to the point where the arrows or the lines that are making up the bigger cross are. So you need to ensure that this smaller cross is as close as possible to the point where these bigger lines making the bigger cross are. So and by ensuring that you achieve that, you will be in gimbals. So that is the relationship that will determine whether you will be in gimbals. So you ensure that this smaller cross within what we have said you will be in gimbals, and that's what I'm going to try to demonstrate right now. So then post again. So you see now I have a handoff. Okay, now you see I'm in range. That carrot is now within the dynamic launch zone or range probability of intercept, and in station 3 here I have got a C above it, indicating that the weapon that I locked up on the targeting pod has been, I mean not the weapon, but the target that is locked up with the targeting pod has been handed over to the maverick to some maverick on station 3. Alright, so, and now I can fire. But before you fire, one more thing. There are several things to watch. So you need to get a successful handoff indicated by the C above the station number. Then that smaller cross I talked about needs to be as close as possible to the point where these lines making the bigger cross are. Another thing, you need to make sure that the carrot is within the dynamic launch zone, which means you are now in range of the target. Now, one last thing, before you launch your missile, you have to make sure that this smaller cross is not flashing. If it's flashing, then there's a problem, then you are not in gimbals. And if you launch a weapon while this smaller cross is flashing, then that weapon will not hit the target. You just get off the pylon here and go ballistic shortly after. Right, so now one of the ways of ensuring that, of trying to make sure that this cross here, this smaller cross here does not flash, is by trying to ensure that your aircraft has a clear line of sight to the target. So if you are flying level, especially in high altitudes, and you're trying to launch your maverick, to try to ensure that the center line on your aircraft is at a line of sight, or rather is along the line of sight to the target. And that, if you keep it there for maybe 1 second, then this cross is highly likely to stop flashing, and you will have a very good firing solution for your AGM-65. So let's do this, let's see this in practice. So I'm going to pause the game and go for that target. Alright, here we go. As you can see, my cross is not flashing, which means I have a good firing solution, and there goes the weapon. Rifle. Okay, so I'm gonna lock another target here. Let's lock this one. Handoff complete. Cross is not flashing. Rifle. Now I have two away. There's some triple A's, so I'm gonna roll off. Let's roll off to the right. Try to avoid being shot down by triple A's. Let's see what happens. Let's see what those mavericks are gonna hit. Oh!
Warning.
Triple A's. Anyway, there goes my maverick, first one. Boom, splash. There goes my second. Well, I never paid attention. The triple A's have gotten the better of me. Boom, splash. So splash 2 targets. I got it, but my F-16 is not fully damaged. I've lost engine power. I've become a glider. I'm gonna have to eject anyway. Anyway, I hope this video helps you.